All righty. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to C&V Sunday, the best Comicsgate show, Sunday morning Comicsgate show, because as far as I know, it's pretty much the only Sunday morning Comicsgate show. It's easy to be number one when there's no competition. With me today is BoogieBot Comics, who's going to be talking about his comic. Robert, the graphic novel. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for joining me. Let me just share a couple of screens here real quick. All righty. First, my comic Tilt 2 is now in the sign-up phase. I'm now over 100 sign-ups. In fact, I think 108 last time I checked. If you sign up, you will be getting a free Tilt magnet with your purchase. This is what's going to be on the Tilt magnet. Who would not want that? Who would not want to wake up in the morning, you're groggy, stumbling toward the kitchen, you get to the refrigerator, and this is on it, and all of a sudden, well, I'll let your imagination run away with you. But yeah, so this is what this is the magnet. Do sign up. The link is in the description below, and also we have why is are you kidding me? Okay, I see what's going on here. All righty. And we also have Robert, the graphic novel. BoogieBot Comics presents the sci-fi steampunk Western graphic novel of the future today. So you can sign up for that as well. The link to that is also in the description below. Okay, let's move on to a little bit of comic book news. I'm gonna have to share the entire screen here, I think. Yeah. And all right. All righty. This is from Bleeding Fool. DC Comics new GM Daniel Cherry may be unqualified, but at least he's woke. This is getting. Don't you think this is getting to be kind of a routine common story for every higher management type they hire at either DC or Marvel? It's not clear exactly what the qualifications are, but in terms of competence, in terms of ideology, it is
It always seems that they have they always have to have a title of some sort where they've helped a company with either race relations, or just like, oh, you can't say this or this to other people. It seems very odd that with most of these people, you kind of wonder do these companies ever actually look at how much money these individuals have made for the companies that they were from, that they looked at? Because with this person here, it doesn't seem like, it just seems like he kind of came out of nowhere.
Well, I wonder if they don't look at the salary that this person was making and make the assumption that, oh, if they're paid that well, they must be bringing a lot. This company must see a lot of value in them, and so let's hire them on the basis of that. I think you say these people help out a company with race relations. I'm willing to bet they help out themselves first and foremost before they actually help the corporation. All righty. We recently told you that a former executive for Activision has been chosen to serve as a vice president general manager for DC. Now, I'm not the type of person who I don't think that necessarily that if you don't have experience running a particular industry, but you have experience in industry A, but you do have experience in industry B, that doesn't necessarily work out. It kind of depends on what you're going for. If you want to do something, if this was actually a move to try to do something different with comics, to boost up the industry, to boost up DC, maybe he brings something from Activision that DC doesn't, that the comic industry doesn't have. I mean, this has been done before. I'm thinking of Best Buy, which was going downhill 10 years ago, and they hired someone who had no experience in electronics, but what he did have experience in, I want to say he was in real estate. He was in some type of real estate where it was very important to get the person in the building, show them around, get them hands-on, which is very much what Best Buy is about now. You go in there and you can play with almost anything in Best Buy now. That's one of the advantages they have over Amazon, and he made the most of it. So he brought something to them that they didn't really have at that time, even though there was no experience in electronics. But I have a funny feeling that's not what's going on here.
Oh no, for sure it's not the same.
And it's just, you hope that when DC, and Warner, made all those layoffs, that changes were coming. But it's like the more you just, this is one of those things that the more things change, the more they seem to stay the same. I mean, if they want to get better sales, I doubt this guy is the way the way you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, considering DC Comics just got slashed with I don't know how many artists were told like, all right, scram, or just I mean, Jim Lee, I honestly thought he was going to get some sort of promotion of some sort to kind of be like their top dog there, just because they assume like, okay, well, since Dan DiDio left, I think since Dan DiDio left, Jim Lee kind of had to step in for the most part, right? And then now it kind of seems like they have him as just like the company mascot, just to be like, well, we have Jim Lee, like the more in-house style artist from DC for the past I don't know how many years.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems kind of strange that it's like for someone like him, he's completely safe, but from all these other employees that got hacked out, and even Tom King had his license, well, not license, I guess, like his contract, that they were still looking into his contract, and nobody knows exactly if he's been laid off from there. But I'm assuming he's still there, because he's it might have been a contract thing, but he's still doing what's it called, Strange Tales.
Oh, okay.
That's not that, like, Strange Adventures, but it's not even about Adam Strange, it's about his wife.
Huh. Well, I don't know. I don't know. You don't know what to say about this, other than I don't think the comic book industry is going to be at least the mainstream industry is going to be getting any healthier anytime soon. But hey, that works out for you and me, doesn't it?
For indie guys, yeah.
I mean, hey, dissatisfied customers, come over here, join Comicsgate, join in the indie comics movement. There's plenty of good stuff out here. As I think I said this on Mandy's show, that if DC and Marvel were really serious, they'd have at least one employee who is dedicated to buying comics from Indiegogo and Kickstarter, with an eye for talent that they could hire to write good comics, because I read loads of indie comics now, and there's lots of people with talent out there, but because they have the wrong politics, they're not getting picked up. So sad state of affairs. But so let's move on to something a little more enjoyable. Okay, can you see the python? Does it say 62-year-old python?
Yep, 62-year-old python lays eggs 15 years after last encounter with a male.
All righty. Officials at the St. Louis Zoo are attempting to solve a motherhood mystery after a 62-year-old ball python, which, by the way, they use ball pythons a lot in music videos when they want to bring in a snake to make the guy look, real tough and everything. Ball pythons, if they are raised from captivity, are more docile than a cat. and I had one for a number of years. Made a great pet, because it rarely sheds. It poops maybe once a week, and you only have to feed it once a week, so it doesn't make noise. So
I heard this one aspect of like a house cat, like of house cats, for the most part, like on a podcast before. Somebody said that they're essentially like glorified houseplants. So I'd imagine in the same sort of way, where like you just feed them, and then you give them whatever they want, and they're perfectly fine for the most part.
Yeah, I don't know. The zookeepers were shocked when the snake, the oldest ever species to ever reside at the zoo, laid eggs during the summer. Herpetologists said reptiles have been known to reproduce asexually through a process known as facultative parthenogenesis. And female snakes have also been known to store sperm from a sexual encounter for delayed fertilization. Wow. Yeah, boy, stored that one a long time.
62 years worth, yeah.
Yeah, at least 15 years. I guess the other question is, do snakes have snake male men? I mean, that's hey, your snake looks like the postman. All right, let's take a quick look at the video here. Yeah, actually, that music's kind of creepy. I think I'm gonna have a seizure if I continue with that. So let's not. All righty, next up. Virginia man gets permission to be buried in juicy fruit themed casket.
This one was the weird one that you sent me. I was a little weirded out by that. Like, why juicy fruit specifically?
A 94-year-old Virginian man with a lifelong love of juicy fruit has received permission from the Mars Wrigley Company to have his casket painted to resemble a pack of chewing gum. Sammy Oakley, president. What's up, big guy?
I want to say hi.
Oh, you want to say hi? Well, naturally, we have to let you say hi. Hold on, my friend. Hold on, young son. All righty. This here is my pride and joy, Charles. Say hi to BoogieBot.
Oh, hi. How's it going?
He says, how you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
How are you? Are you good? No, he's asking how you are. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Oh, that's
All
good.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're talking about a man who's going to be buried in a juicy fruit coffin. And yeah. Sammy Oakey, president of Oakey's Funeral Service, was asked by friend Suddy Economy, and that's an interesting name, 94, to be buried in a casket painted to resemble a pack of juicy fruit. He was hospitalized, developed a love for Wrigley's chewing gum while serving World War II, when the company took juicy fruit and other off the market, so there would be enough to the company initially refused the request, leading the funeral home to post about the efforts on Facebook. You want to? Okay, you can show this. Here's what I wonder. I mean, why would you even bother asking? Just paint the coffin that way, bury him, and then if the company finds out, what are they going to do? Are they going to bring their grave diggers in to dig it up and pull out the body, put it in a regular coffin, I mean, do you think any company would do that? Well, not unless they want enormous amounts of bad PR, which most major companies do not.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless they end up suing the family for doing it, because I mean, like at that point, it's just like, I mean, if you're having like a private funeral already as it is, you're probably not gonna tell a lot of people like, oh yeah, my husband's casket was painted with juicy fruit on it. You know what I mean? Like it's not something I guess you would want to tell a lot of people. And how would it get to the company unless you're specifically telling the company? Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, if they just went ahead in the company and they did it anyways after the company said no, I mean, I'd like to figure out how exactly you'd handle. And just kind of walk away, ignore it, pretend like it didn't happen. What are you going to show us here, bud? You going to show us your what do you got here? Yeah. All righty, you got your Power Rangers little mini graphic novel here. Yeah.
Oh, Power Rangers, that's good.
Oh yeah, he's into Power Rangers a lot now. He's into that and PJ Masks and just lots of it's great. It's nice because when I was a kid growing up, my dad was not into comic books. Very much was absolutely not his thing. But I'm still am, and he is now, and it's just it's great to have this little something to share with.
Your dad said comic books are stupid.
No, he never said that. Not to my face, anyways. But he never said that. But Charles, who's Iron Man?
I'm Tony Stark.
That's right, Tony Stark. All righty. And do you remember who Spider-Man is?
I'm Peter Parker.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yes, I'm starting to beam with pride here. All righty. Well, why don't you share your screen? You can start talking about Robert, the graphic novel.
All right, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick.
And be sure, because you've got a YouTube video there, right?
Yeah, I have
It should be a little box that says share audio at the bottom
Who's your
on the
dad,
left.
Daddy?
Be sure you click that as well.
Okay.
Daddy, who's your dad?
My dad? Who's my dad? It's your grandpa.
Like Grandpa.
Grandpa is my dad.
Like Grandma.
Yeah, grandma is my mom.
Oh, I'm gonna get another comic.
All right, you go right ahead, big guy.
I'm gonna get another show comic book for.
Okay. All righty, here we go. All righty.
All right, let me go ahead and put this to the screen.
There you go.
All right, so here we go. This is Robert, the graphic novel. As you read earlier, it's the BoogieBot Comics presents the sci-fi steampunk western graphic novel of the future today.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's see here. Yeah, so right here we have the mailing. We have the mailing list available right now for people that want to sign up. And when you're signing up, that gives you an exclusive bookmark that you'll get whenever the book finally does come out.
Oh, you're going to give away a bookmarker. All right. Well, I'm glad I signed up. Tell us about the story. Who is Robert, and what's the context he's in? Tell us about it.
So with Robert, this character right here that I've been showcasing for a little while, his name is Eastwood, and just to give a little bit of a backstory to the main story for Robert. The story takes place the backstory for this takes place in 2999, and in this current year, like in 2999, robots are predominantly the main sort of population on Earth, but their whole purpose is to make humans' lives easier. Like they're taxi drivers, they're like chef bots, they're factory workers, and what happens in this year is that a massive solar flare ends up hitting the Earth, which then causes a lot of causes all of Earth's technology to essentially just fry up once that solar flare hits. And the event is called Y3K, because in the year I think it was in the year 1999, people were afraid that that there was that was one of the assumptions, was that Y2K was going to happen, which was going to be like all of Earth's technology was going to fry up and we would have to be buried underground. So that's what this story will jumpstart from, which is Y3K.
Yeah, people see it. Go on. Sorry, go. Don't let me stop you. Just go right ahead.
And what's it called? So right in here, we realize that the robots have the robots do have like a consciousness. Whenever when Y3K has struck, the robots emerge into this new sort of like dystopian future where like they're essentially like the main population. Whatever humans are that are actually left on Earth, they're actually like humans are actually like the not as like they're not the main population on Earth anymore. It's robots.
And now, do the robots? You might have said this, but do the robots gain an actual consciousness during the solar flare, or?
Yeah. So miraculously, for some unknown event, the robots gain some form of consciousness. Like they gain some sort of consciousness to where they can think on their own. The base level intelligence that each one of them has is just like the same like minor intelligence, which would be like knowing how to talk, walk, and like knowing what like kind of like where to go would be the thing that they have to learn for themselves. So the way how all these robots end up getting personality of their own is that they end up learning a lot of like Earth's culture and like from people through television, through books, movies, because a lot of like a lot of like the physical stuff is still on Earth. Some technology ends up jump starting again, but not all of technology. So all of these robots, when they awaken into this sort of like dystopian future, they have to create a purpose for themselves. And with that, I just kind of wanted to mirror that a lot with like when it comes to like people, because with a lot of people, they end up building a personality or a kind of persona off of a lot of like games, movies, TV shows. So with these robots, they're going to end up doing the same thing in this new dystopian future.
Now, what role, if any, do the remaining humans play?
So the remaining humans that are still here on like the ones that are still on Earth, they are the kind of they're kind of seen as like second almost second class citizens, but if they for the ones that can like the more important ones are the ones that can actually like mechanics. Mechanics are super sought after because robots can't fix themselves. So they'll use humans if they have like a chop shop or like a mechanic shop. Humans are more so sought after for that specific reason. And one of the main characters in the book, his name is Charles, and he's the mechanic of this trio that we have. And right here, this character on right here on screen is Eastwood. He's the second. He's a third. He's the third main character in this book.
Now, what is the robot Robert? What is his plot line? I mean, what is driving him? You know, and tell us about that.
So for Robert, let's see right here. Yeah, so this was a poster that I had made for Robert. If I can get this kind of shared.
Oh, it's up there. You got it.
Okay. So for Robert, the backstory that I just gave, that is the kind of like context as to how the world kind of became this dystopian future. But the actual main plot of the story that we're going to be following along with Robert is that they're essentially on a supply run, but they end up running into a group of group of bandits, but they call themselves the Western Bots, like kind of like the new like frontier of the West in this like dystopian future. So the three main characters are going to be what we kind of like follow along with in this book on like from this kind of bounty that's put on their heads by the Western Bots. And Robert, right here in the center, his main purpose in the book is to kind of be us, like the storyteller. We're supposed to kind of like see this new world through his eyes. And whenever we read the book, we're gonna see that there's like hints and pieces of the past that kind of like come back, where Robert seems like where Robert is more important. I can't give too much away as to how old Robert is, but he is the reason why robots exist, and I'll say that.
Does that have something to do with why the Western Bots have a bounty on him?
Yeah, so part of it is that Charles, the human over here on the side, him and Eastwood have had several run-ins with the Western Bots, but when they end up discovering Robert, they put him back together, and then the adventure kind of like begins from there.
Okay, tell us a little bit about now. Did you just create it, or did you write the? You're actually the artist too, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'm the writer, the penciler, inker, colorist, and then I'll be the letterer and also the distributor for like the like for packaging all the packages and like shipping them out and everything for filling.
That's a great way to save on costs, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
other than time, but in terms of money, oh boy.
Oh yeah, and like because this is just a project that I've been working on for a long time, and the smaller company that I used to work with, whenever we used to do conventions, when before the pandemic thing sort of started, um, I used to work for a smaller independent company called like Unearthly Comics, and I actually did make a Robert book at one point, but it was only a like 24 page it was a 22 page issue of Robert, and it was like kind of like my first time ever actually doing the story for it. But this graphic novel is completely brand new artwork. It's the story is essentially the same, however, um with how like since the story was made in 2014, I've kind of updated it and just kind of uh I'm able to do now more stuff than I wasn't able to kind of put in at the time.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to make this book more so like my actual vision for Robert.
Mm, mm. So you worked at a comic book company for a little while. Can you tell us just a bit about that?
Yeah, so for that I used to work at a smaller independent company just called like Unearthly Comics, and um it was more of a it was more just like an independent group of guys. In the team we only had 4 people um that worked for the company, but we all kind of just we would travel to conventions, and we would each sell our individual books at at our table. And sometimes we would do some panels whenever they would have like indie artists kind of like jump on stage just to kind of talk about like their books and whatnot. And so that was fun at the time, but um we still kind of get together every once in a while to kind of like hash out ideas and just to kind of like kind of shoot the shit, and just
Mhm.
talk about new ideas, or just what would work today for a book, or just pretty much anything we can think of, or like share artwork and get critiques from each other.
Mhm.
Um, because we're all because everybody on that team, we were artists, and but we also had to be our own business people. We had to be our own hype men
Mm.
for all of our projects too. But right now, since with that company, we each own our individual like kind of like IPs and everything, so we're able to kind of just take them wherever we want. And with Robert, I wanted to do a crowdfunding for that because I knew I wasn't going to be able to tell this story as fully as I wanted if I'm not able to actually um, do that with Indiegogo.
Mhm. Is the company still together?
We still kind of like get together every once in a while to like kind of hash out ideas, but at the moment we're taking a break because the whole pandemic thing kind of like set us off course from being
Ah.
able to go to conventions like as often.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit, right?
Just a
Just a
little
little
bit.
bit. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, why don't you play the YouTube video? Let's take a look.
Okay. Yeah, let me go ahead and pull that back up over here, and I'll show off some of the pages in a little bit. I actually have like a good
Absolutely.
amount of pages.
Absolutely.
Let me see if the audio's up.
Oh, audio, yeah, should be on, but go ahead and there we go. That is some really nice art right there. I like it. I like it. That's nice.
Thank you. And that whole trailer, I made myself. I composed the music. I
Oh, wow.
made the outro and the kind of like promotional work for that.
Cool. Very nice. Alrighty. Yeah, let's let's see some of the pages.
So for the pages that I have, I actually have about 25% of the book completely done, and I've still been working on a lot of like the inks and colors, like kind of during the time that I'm not at work. But I can show off a couple of the pages right here. Right here,
Please.
this is page 1. We kind of like jump in the story with kind of like a flyer in the dirt with like a cactus, and the second page right here kind of showcases Eastwood. And this character, his name is Eastwood because he kind of modeled his personality after Clint Eastwood, after the Fistful of Dollars movies that he's kind of seen whenever he came, like whenever he emerged out from when he woke up again after Y3K. So right here we see him kind of we see him parking his motorcycle, we see him picking up the flyer, and we see right here on the flyer it says the future has arrived today. So the main story is taking place in Las Vegas, but in this story it's like the new Vegas. Sort of like a kind of a slight aesthetic that I liked from like Fallout, like from the Fallout games. So I kind of wanted to introduce a little something like that. These characters, they're not completely tied to Las Vegas, but they're going to be traveling in the book. So they're going to be going to a lot of like different places. And from this page here, he's looking at the flyer and he looks off in the distance, and then we see the 2-page spread that I showed in the trailer.
Nice.
And he's kind of looking off in the distance, and he sees that there's an old town right here. This town right here is supposed to be a kind of like kind of like a fake Western town that like like sometimes they'll have like kind of like museums of like older buildings that they make to kind of be like, oh, like come see the old West for how it really was, and they make like new buildings and stuff like that. So this is a little town just out in the middle of the desert, and there's an airship here that's crashed and it's kind of burning up. But he came here to see whatever supplies that he can find from there. And
how badly damaged is the town? I mean, it really looks like it's.
Yeah. So this part of the pages, these are in the desert, but so in the town, it's pretty badly beat up and everything because when the solar flare happened, it shut off a lot of like nuclear power plants as well. So whatever power plants were kind of like affected by like the solar flare, they ended up destroying towns. It ended up like killing off a lot of like wildlife, and whatever wildlife is there, it's just barely holding on by a thread. So and Nevada always looks kind of dead anyways. It's just mostly desert and mountains. So I kind of wanted to. I think that'd be kind of like a nice balance. Whenever you read whenever people see the book, they'll just assume like, oh, well, it's just Nevada. It's just a desert town, So, but then whenever they actually get into the actual town, well, whenever the story kind of brings them into like I guess downtown Las Vegas, a lot of the buildings are run down. There's a lot of robots that have taken over certain buildings, kind of like think of in a way. If you've seen you've seen Back to the Future too, right? So the kind of like town that Buford, no, not Buford, like Biff. He takes over that town whenever like it's kind of like this dystopian town where like guys on motorcycles are just like going around his hotel. You just see like people crashing through like walls, graffiti everywhere. It looks kind of similar to that for like downtown Las Vegas. So these two characters, Charles and Eastwood, they have to kind of keep on their toes whenever they're in Las Vegas.
And so they're kind of like the man with no name in the sense that they're just kind of wanderers, and they don't have they don't really have a purpose until they come upon an actual town or situation. I mean, I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah. So Eastwood here used to be part of that gang of the Western bots. And the reason why he left, we'll see in the story that Charles actually found Eastwood, and they kind of like joined together, and they kind of like Eastwood left the Western bots, and we'll see here with these two goons that Eastwood shot in the head. These two bots are actually part of that Western gang. So part of the story as to why like they have that bounty on their head is because Eastwood killed these two bandits that were trying to take their supplies. So that'll kind of be where the story jump starts from. And this is page 5 or 4. No, this is page 7. I'm showing some of the pages kind of out of order just to kind of like still leave people with some surprises whenever they when they see the pages like all together. And this right here, they end up discovering Robert in that crashed airship, because that airship is a junk ship. It's just a ship that like the person that was piloting it would just take random junk from different places. And robot parts in the future, they're seen as like a hot commodity because if you have extra robot parts, you can always go to a mechanic and they can always like change. Like if you need a new arm, and if you have a new arm from a deceased robot, you can just take it and replace it on your own. Or if you need an upgrade, you can always just take it to a mechanic and they'll fix it. But with Charles, he has to trade supplies for his services. So that's how they kind of get by, like for the both of them.
Interesting. Okay, what's going on here?
And this page right here, this is the main villain of our story, and his name is Ramon, or just like a Ramon. So like a lot of these characters, I'm taking inspiration from like the Fistful of Dollars movies, and Ramon was the main bad guy from the first Fistful of Dollars movie. But this guy, I'm giving a little bit of like a different kind of personality, where he's like the Western villain, like spaghetti Western villain, like to a T. And this scene right here, he found Charles in his workshop, and he's threatening to kill him, which he's basically just grinding his hand over the tabletop grinder, and he's like with the glowing red eyes, he's just like ready to kill Charles until somebody came in to blast his hand off. And then we'll see in the story as to like who was the person that actually like blasts his hand off.
Got a guy from the Red Bank. Hello, sir. How are you? Spaghetti Western. Well, I don't think it was actually. I assume he didn't make the book in Italy, so I'm not sure technically it can qualify as a spaghetti Western. But that's sick. Yes, this is some really nice art here. Very true.
And then this is the poster kind of like showcasing the 3 characters and like a little rundown of the story. So this reads Robert, the 19th century robot in a post-apocalyptic future. And this will give way a little bit as to how old Robert is, and kind of like the kind of like robot out of time, like it like a kind of like as to why he's here.
I see. Okay, that starts to make sense because it looks like Eastwood is a little more his body, his arms look a little more advanced, a little more humanoid than actual Robert. So that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, and this this little middle couple lines right here. After a supply run turns south, Robert, Charles, and Eastwood find themselves in a cross-country road trip to escape the Western bots and the bounty on their heads. Join these misfits on a journey generations in the making. Yeah, so the story comes together kind of full circle whenever they find Robert for the first time in the story. And that's where a lot of the action starts to kind of take place. And then this right here is I showed it off on the Mandy show, but this is the finalized pencils for the cover. I did the pencils on my tab, like I did them digitally, but I'm printing out the paper today to actually start inking it on an actual bristle board.
All right, sounds really good. Okay, anything else you want to let us know?
If people sign up for the mailing list, they'll get an exclusive bookmark, and they can follow me on Twitter at BoogieBot Comics and Instagram as well. I have a YouTube channel where I kind of post artwork every once in a while and just kind of notify people if there's something new with the campaign. But yeah, with the story, I want people to kind of like understand that there's going to be like some twists and turns that kind of come in the book. But essentially, this book, I'm wanting it to just be uh, an action-packed adventure with robots and like with mostly robots. So we're going to see a lot less humans in here, but I assume that's what like if most people are wanting to back this book, they're wanting it for the robot action, you know. So that's going to give way to a lot more cooler scenes with kind of like the main villain, Ramon, fighting with Eastwood, Charles, and Robert.
Well, it certainly sounds like you've planned it out a great deal here. Planned out the story. You know, you have a robot who is looks like he's maybe centuries old. Then you have someone that's based on kind of a Clint Eastwood character, and dystopian, being chased around by a gang called the Western Bots. It really sounds very, very good, and an interesting take on westerns. So do you know when you might be launching the campaign?
I'm hoping to possibly launch it within possibly maybe a month or a month and a half. I'm hoping to at least round out the mailing list to 200 by the time that comes around, just so I have a good basis on a good basis on like being able to get like enough backers to actually make this book possible.
What is your what's your funding goal?
For funding, I'm looking at about 2,000 to 3,000, just because it's a graphic novel.
If you get 200 backers, 2,000 to 3,000 shouldn't be too tough. I did 3,000 for Tilt 1. The thing I did is I did like over 30 YouTube shows in that 60-day campaign time. So that's and I did hit my mark about 2 weeks ahead of the end of the campaign. But 3,000 is a good 2 to 3,000 is a good goal, and for first time, and so I think you're in good shape.
And because I think, and in terms of like the page number, I think I'm going for about 60 pages for this graphic novel. And then I'll also have like some extras included in there, like maybe a poster, and then the for all the people that sign up on the mailing list, they're going to be able to get the exclusive bookmark that comes with it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Alrighty, anything else?
That's about it. I showed off the trailer, some pages in progress work. I think for the most part, if people want to sign up for it and hopefully back it when it launches, I'd be eternally grateful to everybody who does it.
Well, that's good attitude to have. Wonderful. All righty, let's finish up with some of the riotousness.
Riotousness.
All righty, this here, my friends, is his name is Elliot Rucka, son of Batman scribe Greg Rucka, arrested after Black Lives Matter riot in New York. And he's not even going to be my main focus. This is from this would have been from Bounding into Comics, I believe. Might have been from Bleeding Fool, but I think it was from Bounding into Comics. But it gets better because he was arrested along with this young woman here. A Little Red Rioting Hood was hot to Trotsky. God, I love the New York Post sometimes. And let's see if I can bring. I'm going to bring up some of the articles here real quick. Yeah. So New York Police Department releases mugshots of alleged rioter Clara Kraber and her comrades. And let's see. This here is Clara Kraber. This is this would be Elliot Rucka and some of the other. Now notice the skin tone, shall we say, of all these people. This is where
yes.
Yeah, this is where it starts getting really good. The protest was organized by groups calling themselves New African Black Panther Party. Yeah, I wonder, were they the organizers? But it gets better. All right, now this Clara Kraber, and if this will, wealthy New York City woman busted in BLM rampage. One of the Black Lives Matter protesters facing felony rioting and misdemeanor graffiti charges after a window smashing free-for-all in Manhattan is a wealthy Upper East Sider whose mother is an architect and whose father is a child psychiatrist. Clara Kraber, 20, is one of 8 people arrested Friday night after a roiling 3-hour rampage that police say caused $100,000 in damage from Foley Square up to 24th Street. So yeah, her dad, it's actually her mom is an architect. Her dad, it later says, he's not only a child psychiatrist, he's an adolescent psychiatrist.
It didn't do much good for her daughter.
So here she is. Boy, it looks like she's had a real idealized upbringing. It makes you wonder, I mean, how do people like this end up in these types of radical groups that are willing to get violent? Is it that she's spoiled? Is it that her parents are indulgent? Is it that she goes to these Tony prep schools and colleges where teachers, and I use that term loosely, fill her head up with a lot of really bad ideas? I'm sure that's all part of it.
And it's usually people in the same sort of age range too. It's usually people either just going straight to college, or like kids either just like leaving straight from high school or just like graduating college.
Well, they say here, she's now facing a maximum of 4 years in prison on top of her on her top charge of first-degree riot. Kraber has joined in street protests for years before allegedly taking part in Friday night's march. She apparently was interviewed by the New York Times in 2014, explaining why she joined a Manhattan rally on behalf of Ferguson, Missouri police shooting casualty Michael Brown. But her family lives in a $1.8 million for their 16th floor apartment on East End Avenue. I think. Well, no. See if this one. There was a picture in here. Here it is. Yeah, so here is boy, isn't that nice?
Oh, that's a nice place.
Yeah, 1.8 million, maybe a little overpriced, but it is New York real estate, and hey, it if I'm willing to bet. Did it say 16th floor? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16. Oh, wow. So they're all the way at the top. Look like they'd be up here somewhere. Wow. So, why do these kids really do this when they come from such really privileged backgrounds? And I was telling, as I was telling BoogieBot earlier, just before we went on the show, I unfortunately I was looking for it this morning, I couldn't find it. A series of essays by the economist Thomas Sowell, and these are some of his earliest published works that he did in the late 70s. And he recounts an incident in Italy where a bunch of kids who came from very well-to-do families in Italy, they were in their late teens, early 20s, very well-to-do families. They kidnapped the prime minister and I believe murdered him. All right. They formed some sort of terrorist group, some radical Marxist group. And people were just totally, when they were arrested, people were totally shocked that they had come from these well-to-do families. And Sowell makes this point that it to some extent makes sense, because if you come from considerable privilege, and you're this young person, and you're impatient, and you're probably insecure, as a lot of us are at that age, you're looking at your parents and you're going, how successful they are, maybe how powerful they are, and it's going to take me years to come close to even to achieving even
Hmm.
a fraction of that. Um, so, what's the quickest way to satisfy that psychological need? Well, it's to do something like, join a radical group, because you believe you can make change, make massive change quickly, and kidnapping something like a prime minister is going to get your, that's very dramatic. It's
Yeah, what can I do to get my parents to notice me more?
yes, something like that. Yeah, I mean, that's gonna, when that's gonna get your name and what you do in the headlines very, very quickly. So, what's up, big guy?
Hmm. I'm gonna have some candy.
Well, can you wait? We're gonna be done here in a minute, big guy. Sorry. He's fun to have around, but you do have to. What's up?
I tell you what, after I eat all my candy.
You can eat some candy, and then we can go outside. So, yeah, so that's about it. I mean, it's just it's it's affluenza, I guess. These, I think these parents maybe need to work a little harder to give their young kids some purpose. But that's my, I say that as someone who grew up with a dad as an engineer and a mom as a teacher. So while there was a lot to live up to, it didn't seem overwhelming. So.
Hmm. My dad, he's actually he works like he has his own like independent business, but he mostly does like landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll, he had like the typical kind of like blue collar worker, just like nine to six job, just to kind of like get me and my family kind of like going. Um, my mom, she worked for a bank. She worked for like a bank for like the longest time too. So my family, we're not really as like so we've kind of seen our fair share of like like hard times, but then there's also good times. I never once went hungry,
No.
thankfully. So thankfully for my parents, they always worked their asses off, and I think a little bit of that kind of like comes into play for myself, where I can't not be doing something, where
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like, because I graduated school, um I graduated college, I work a 9 to 5 job too. I do the comics, I do those on the weekends whenever I was able to, like before the pandemic, and I'm also coming on streams. I'm doing uh my comic as well, so I can't, for my sake and just for my parents, I wouldn't want to let them down. So I feel like I have to be doing something.
Sure, sure. And it sounds like, you're also doing so much that even if you've got a lot to do, so it keeps you out of trouble, where I'm willing to bet these kids have a lot of uh, idle time on their hands, and that is, there's a reason for the saying. As I found, as I've gotten older, I've realized there's a lot of wisdom in the saying that, idle hands are the devil's workshop.
Hmm.
It's also one of the reasons I'm not particularly big fan of the welfare system, because you end up with a lot of adolescent and a lot of young men in their early 20s, and adolescent, young men
Just
who
not doing anything.
not doing anything, and they're hanging out on the corner, and guess what that's going to lead to? Trouble, if
Oh
not
yeah.
outright social disaster. So you're gonna have to wait a bit, just a few minutes, Charles. So yeah, it's I think, and I think that's also why, so far you haven't seen in a lot of these demonstrations a lot of working class kids and even poor kids necessarily. I mean, you've seen some, I'm sure, but
But
uh
it's usually the ones that are like, if they're already troubled kids to begin with, as far as I've known, and in my city, whenever some of that kind of happened, it's usually the like people wanting to riot just because they're wanting to like not like basically just to steal stuff.
project their unhappiness onto others, sort of thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you'll find the other people that are wanting to say like, oh, it's for a bigger cause, it's for something bigger than me, when in reality it's just people either wanting to just blow off steam or just to make themselves seem more important, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I also think it's just because the kids from working class backgrounds, they're too busy trying to get ahead, to waste their time on these sorts of things. So,
Exactly.
well, at any rate, I think somebody needs some daddy attention. So I think we're gonna have to call it here. Thank you so much for being on the program. Do sign up for Robert the graphic novel. Also sign up for Tilt 2. You get a free bookmark if you sign up for the graphic novel and for Robert the graphic novel, and you'll get a free magnet for signing up for Tilt 2. Robert the graphic novel looks really, really good, and so alrighty. Again, BoogieBot, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for everyone who showed up in the audience. Appreciate you very much. And until next time, have a very nice day.
All right. Thank you, everybody.